Thank you.
You can introduce the agenda.
Yeah, let's give it one more. Hey, are we up? Hey, everyone, I'm just gonna give it 1 or 2 more minutes, then we'll get started. Thank you.
Thank you.
We're going to about 27 seconds.
Hey, Joel, I just saw your message. Can you hear? Can you hear now? Okay, good.
All good. All good. Thanks.
Thanks, everyone. Why don't we go ahead and get started? So hi, my name is Tristan Haas. I'm chair of the Transportation Environment Committee. And we're hereby convening our May meeting, which is in April. And we have 2 items on the agenda today, and right now we are currently lacking a quorum, so we can't take any official action yet. But in the interest of being conscious of everyone's time, we'll go ahead and get started. So the first item is an MTA presentation, an application for security bollards at Plaza 33 to be placed around the Penn Station terminal along 7th Ave at 33rd and west of 7th Ave at 34th and 33rd Street. So we have representatives of the MTA here, and I'll pass the baton over to you two. And I will ask, we do have members who are visually impaired. So as you're presenting and speaking to visuals or diagrams or maps, if you could do your best to kind of speak to what the images portray, would be appreciated.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Can you see the screen? Okay, so I'm Shirley Moy. Where's the camera?
It's right here.
I've looked that way.
Yeah, well, you don't need to worry about it.
Okay, so I'm Shirley Moy, the Deputy Project Executive for, at the MTA for the Penn Concourse Project. So we're here to present to you our problems. So this project, we had 2 milestones. We had completed the entrance the end of 2020, and we completed the concourse in March of 2023. So we're now in the project closeout process. We are working on the bollards post substantial completion. So this is because we had to coordinate with the adjacent property owners. Tornado was digging up the Plaza 33, and so we at the MTA are putting in the bollards to protect the MTA assets that we have built, which was the entrance. So we want to let you know that we built a better Penn Station experience for the under 33rd Street, only for the concourse, which is about 1/5 of Penn Station. So we widened the corridor, we raised the ceiling, we upgraded the lighting, with wayfinding, fresh air, a new entrance, and we replaced a lot of ADA elevators. We added 1 new elevator. And now we can say new retail stores have opened. So we're here today to talk about the security bollards. So we have 3 sets of them. 1 set on the top of wait, to the right on the sheet. So north is to the right.
You show your.
Yeah. So, oh yeah. So north is to the right. This is 34th Street, 7th Avenue is here, and 8th Avenue is on the top of the page. So we put bollards in front of what they call Pearson Park. And then the other set of bollards is on 7th Avenue and 33rd Street to protect down the entrance. And then on the other side, on the back side of the plaza facing west, we also have another set of bollards to prevent any trucks from coming down and hitting our plaza. You know, hitting our entrance, sorry. So, the bollards are standard bollards with, stainless steel covers. The ones, so we had started construction about, October of 23, and then we went through the whole holiday embargo, and we worked through the embargo, and then we had, we get deliveries, et cetera, and we were waiting to moving the utilities around, and then we closed up the street, and now we're waiting for, in certain sections, for Vornado to put in the pavers. So this one is done with, planters and everything on 33rd Street, 34th Street, on the, Pearson Park entrance. This is the 34th Street side. Okay. The next set of bollards is on the west side of Plaza 33. So, the left picture shows, the view facing Moynihan Train Hall and, MSG. So there's a set of bollards here, and looking the other direction, Tornado's still working on their trees, in the, what do you call those things, tree pits. And so that's facing east, okay? So the plan on 33rd and 7th is kind of this, kind of not quite L, it's like a C shape, I suppose, a set of array of bollards. There are a couple of different shape bollards. These are the shallow bollards, so they're a funny shape. And then we have the rest of the bollards, which are regular shaped. And we had to move a lot of utilities to get these in, and we finally got them in. So unfortunately, they're surrounded by barricades. So the bollards are all in, they're missing their covers. So we're waiting for, Vornado's contractor to put in all the pavers. And you see the little black bollards? They're gonna have little stainless steel covers on them. And so when they're done, they're thinking May-ish. I'm not sure about their schedule, but, so then when they're done, we will have finished, construction on the bollards. And so we're here today because we have to go through the revocable consent process. So we had gone through the Public Design Commission and all the New York City DOT approvals and DEP approvals and utility company approvals. And so now we're at the 30-day review period, which goes to all the civic entities, the Borough President's Office, DOT, Borough Commissioner, Community Board 5, and the City Council, and then it goes through, there's gonna be a public hearing, and then the lawyers, and then it goes to the controller to get registered. So that's the process. So we're here today to obtain your consent for the bollards.
Do any members of the committee have any questions, either those in the room or those participating remotely? If you have a question and you're participating remotely, please raise your hand. Yes, Joel.
I do have a question. In the past, when DOT or building owners put bollards around landmark kinds of buildings like Carnegie Hall and the Empire State Building, they never came to us. And when we asked the question, how come you didn't come to us for those? They said when something's a significant site designated by the either emergency management or the feds, then they don't come to us, they just do it. I'm curious why you're coming to us for Penn Station. That seems in the same category.
Because the MTA, how should I say it, has to get revocable consent from New York City. There's a lot of legal paperwork because I guess the MTA is gonna own and maintain the bollards because DOT does not want to own and maintain the bollards. So there's a whole lawyerly process to transfer, I guess, the bollards to the MTA somehow. There's a legal paperwork. So I'm sure, I don't know how the private homeowners, how private properties work. I don't know that process, but this is a legal process where the city is saying, you, the MTA, have to maintain these things. And so there's a paper trail that has to happen, which is part of the revocable consent process.
Thank you. James, I just promoted you, so you should be able to speak now. Okay. No. James, did you have a question or were you just raising your hand to get promoted?
Oh, yes, I just had one question about the bollards on Seventh Avenue. They seem to stick out significantly into the pedestrian walkway or the sidewalk, I guess. Is there a particular design reason for that from a security perspective? Is there any reason that they couldn't be more sort of flush with the buildings? I was just kind of over there the other day for the Ranger game and was realizing that those could cause like significant kind of intrusion. And I was just wondering if there was a reason for that. And apologies, I'm not there in person to ask you this.
The sidewalk will be widened by Vornado, but right now it's under construction, and so it's full of barricades. So as soon as they remove the barricades, there'll be much more room for pedestrians. You actually can traverse on the upper level of Vornado's, underneath the MSG, walkway as well. But right now, it's full of barricades, because they're trying to really finish the paving, so they have all the paving stones. And so it will free up once they kind of set the sidewalk. But they haven't, they're kind of like inching along, so, I think they're moving from south to north, but they've, there's a whole bunch of barricades. As soon as they remove the orange barricades, there'll be plenty of them.
Right. I guess I'm just thinking about back to when it was before this new plaza construction. I mean, I believe there were bollards before those escalators and stairs that went down into Penn Station, but you could still walk up and down Seventh Avenue clearly. And so then looking at one of the floor site plans you had included, it seemed to be that there might even be like something underneath there that from a engineering perspective, you wouldn't want to set the bollards flush because they couldn't be retracted below, or there was something underneath the street right there.
The subway is underneath.
You
So-
see what he's saying, right? The
Yeah.
bollards that run east-west are blocking the sidewalk, right?
Wait, let's, east.
The red ones.
You talking
The
about
red-
the
right
red
there,
ones? Oh, that's because, the security folks have made us, do that because either the car, it's for safe security reasons, either the cars coming down Seventh Avenue or 33rd Street, they can ram, they could. We don't want, how should I say, an incident to happen, but they can go like 50 miles an hour and then hit the security bars and get our entrance and get our pedestrians, so. They're at an angle so that the cars, like if they came down Seventh Avenue, cannot come and hit, my new entrance. Well, it's not quite so.
But you can still walk. I mean, there's
Between
still pedestrian access between the bollards, not
Yeah.
walking, yeah.
So it's,
I guess,
It's-
sorry
it's
to
for
like back
security
and
reasons.
forth, but I guess what I'm just getting at is that when I'm looking at this on 34th Street, I mean, I think those bollards are already there, but those are more or less flush. They're only out into the sidewalk, maybe a foot or two. So those don't really impact people walking east-west on 34th Street, but the other ones create like a U that's really sort of out there. And I understand the argument that a vehicle could move very quickly toward that location down 7th Avenue, but they could also do the same thing on 34th. I was just wondering if from a design perspective, I mean, and maybe the answer is just that the security consultant said that it's better that instead of having,
no,
it's
not a
just
security
straight
consultant.
across.
We went through, NYPD and counterterrorism. We went through, all the different security agencies, and they said we had to do it this way, so we had no choice. We went through the fire department, the NYPD, the MTAPD, counterterrorism, and this is what we ended up with.
I think it's flush against the sidewalk, like right at the curb.
At the
So
curb,
it's a little
right,
different than Pearson Park and the other.
right. But you can walk between.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a fine answer. It just strikes me as a little bit kind of inconsistent with the other places and other places in the city where bollards are installed like this. But if that's the answer, that's the answer. Thank you.
Anyone else have any questions? Okay, and in terms of preferred outcome here, is the action that you're requesting a resolution in favor, or a letter, or just a non-opposition?
Yeah, we would want your either concurrence or non-opposition to go to DOT and says, we have no objections. And then it goes to the next step in the process.
So the letter suffice or? do
I
you need
think
resolution?
you probably, I have to check with DOT, I don't know, maybe a resolution would be nice.
Okay. If there are no more questions from members of the committee, we will open up to members of the public to either ask questions or to state a comments. So we have 2 public attendees. So if you wish to speak, please raise your hand. And I will ask that you state all of your questions in one go or your comments in one go, and then we'll get the opportunity for MTA to respond. Okay, seeing no questions, we will enter business session. And during business session, only members of the committee can speak. So just to note, we currently do not have a quorum in the room. We have sufficient members overall, but we just can't take an official action here. So if we elect to either pass a resolution or to write a letter in support or opposition of this, we would, I think, draft it. Something that represents the consensus of this committee and the individuals who worked in this. So Mohit and James would be the ones drafting it, but we would have to take it to exec to take a formal action if indeed we want to take formal action here. So I will open it up to the floor for anyone who wants to speak. Please raise your hand.
Does it need to be a resolution? Could it simply be a letter that we have no objection?
So we have recently made a policy change at the exec level that any letter would still go to the full board for approval. So whether or not we want to do a resolution or a letter, in practice, we would have to go to exec and get them to be the initial approver, like because we can't take an official stance here, and then it would go to full board for.
So what would your suggestion be to Mohit and James in terms of writing this?
Well, so in terms of, I think we need to decide as a committee if we're opposed to this or if we're in favor of it. And then depending on what the outcome is, they would draft a resolution reflecting that consensus, and then we would bring that to exec and have them.
I see no objection. Yeah, well, I would support whatever affirmative action is necessary.
Seeing some nods. Anyone participating remotely have any thoughts? Mohit, James, I know you guys did the due diligence here. Anything you want to say?
I mean, I historically don't really agree with this type of level of intrusive bollards. I remember like a decade ago, I was against this for what is it? The Bank of America building on 42nd on the northwest corner. I generally think in really high traffic areas, they're intrusive, but if NYPD counterterrorism says it's necessary to do it this way, who am I to object? So I'll just state that, and I'm happy to go along with the consensus of the committee.
Okay. Mohit?
Yeah, and I would agree with the latter part of that consensus that James shared. I think what was clear in the presentation is that this seemed to be a need both by NYPD and counterterrorism. And so I think given that, I would be fully supportive of having the bollards in place. But I think Ankur actually did some due diligence on this. So Ankur, if you want to share additional thoughts.
Sure. And actually, you said what I was thinking as well. Pros and cons with bollards, I hear that, but given the counter-terrorist determination made by the NYPD, I'd be supportive.
Thanks, Joel.
Yeah, I agree with everything that's just been said. I think in terms of format, I'd be supportive of a letter or resolution, whatever it is, that says we have no objection. I feel better doing it that way than saying we support it in the affirmative because it's already done. And they just feel like, we're just being asked to rubber stamp something that's done. I think it's easy to say we have no objection, assuming that's the consensus here, which it sounds like it is.
Yep, I think everyone's generally aligned. So again, we can't take any formal action. So absent opposition, we'll proceed in that manner, writing up a resolution with no objection, take that to exec, and then it will go to full board. Any last thoughts before we turn to the next item? Okay, well, thank you both for
Thank you.
attending and
Thank you.
presenting to us.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Bye.
Shirley.
Thank you.
Kristen, can you email an example of a no objection resolution?
Yeah, I'll find something and share it with both of you.
Thank you.
Okay,
And
thanks.
Teresa has the presentation if you need.
Great, perfect. We'll share that as well. Okay, the next item on the agenda is an application for a no standing anytime zone at 375 Park Avenue between East 52nd and 53rd. So Bill, Mohit, you both did the due diligence on this. Anything you want to say before we turn over to the presenters?
No, I have nothing to say.
Mohit, anything you wanted to say?
Yeah, well, so one thing to note, there is quite a bit of traffic as expected on this street, given that it's in the middle of like Midtown's business district. And so, would love to understand the reasoning behind the no standing zone from the applicant as well. It seems like something that makes sense from an access perspective based on where the building is located on the east side of 52nd. But would love further clarity for this committee from the applicant themselves.
Thank you. And is the applicant here? Frank, are you? Great, the floor is yours.
Great, thank you. Well, thank you for the opportunity. Hello, everyone, Chair and committee members. My name is Frank Fortino. I am the president and owner of Metropolis Group. I am here with the authorization from ownership, RFR, to represent a request for providing a no standing location for 100 feet. And I'm sure that we have sent over a copy of a letter that came in from DOT. We approached them on their engineering group, which actually surveyed and looked at the feasibility of our request. And that's what, brought us to this board. The purpose is, this is the Seagram's building, and the Seagram's building does have two entrances, both for individual restaurants, Lobster Club on one side, and the other side is the pool, which was the former, I'm sorry, the Four Seasons, which is now called the Pool. The whole purpose of this is that there are opportunities where cars and trucks do load and unload in that area. There is also on 52nd Street the ability to park at a certain time. So what we're looking to do is to actually free up all that for the purpose of one of the members actually stating that there is a lot of traffic there. And what we're finding is that sometimes when there are cabs or Ubers or particularly private cars that drive up to drop off the execs and people that work in the building at Seagram's, one is Blue Owl that's moving in, financial group. The building is 98% pretty much filled. We're seeing activity that's coming back, and all of that traffic is now increasingly happening more and more each day. And it's more purely of a safety issue where if there's someone standing there, what happens is the car pulls in, person gets out, boom, they move out. And it's just a contiguous movement of traffic, as opposed to stopping in the middle of the street where if I'm not mistaken, there are plastic dividers, if you will, on the opposite sides that actually minimize people getting around other cars. So we're thinking of, providing this particular area. So for the freedom and accessibility for cars to pull over, drop off and leave, period. No parking, no standing, no idling, it's more of a safety measure that we're feeling.
Thank you, Frank. Do any committee members in the room or attending virtually have any questions?
Thank you. Frank, in your letter, you say that you are requesting this no standing zone to be utilized by cars to pick up and drop off, not to exceed 10 minutes per car. How do you plan to time out each car's arrival and leaving?
It's more of an estimate. It's an excellent question. And when we see people pull up and drive away, we've actually looked at, no one wants to stand there. No one wants to sit there and waiting. And as a matter of fact, there is a garage that the building does use, which cars park in the garage, whether it's community people or members of the community rather, and or the office employees. And they do look at how long cars sit there, And again, we're particularly worried about the contiguous crowding of vehicles. And cars do rush up that street, right? And they do have a tendency of not paying attention at times. So we witnessed that kind of behavior, and we thought, listen, if we have the area and a curb cut, since we have two not only restaurant entrances on both sides, those are restaurant entrances from either side, but also entrances for employees to go to their office on the side as well. It just thought it made sense, instead of crowding Park Avenue, when you have these folks coming in, spending a tendency, they drop off and leave.
But the question is, who would be the personnel who would be actually enforcing it? It's not gonna be you. Is it gonna be a garage attendant? Is it gonna be a valet? Is it gonna be a doorman? Who's gonna enforce that they're only standing for no more than 10 minutes?
Well, the truth of the matter is, in the lobby, and you see them now, if you had, gone by, there are, I would say, at any given time, 4 to 5 security people. And they're the ones that actually watch people coming in, watch, if the people need assistance getting in, especially to the steps, and people also leaving. So, they could, for all intents and purposes, potentially, they could be the people that are going to be securing and watching and controlling the activity in that area.
Charles. Charles, you're on mute.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Sorry about that. So I just wanted to ask about the security guards. Are they part of do they have a union? And did you speak to the security guard company whether that is in their remit to do that kind of job? And the reason why I'm asking that is because, in the building where I live, I have a similar situation. We have a no standing zone. Security can't enforce anything for my building, for example, and unfortunately, all traffic cops can do is just give tickets. So, is this putting your security personnel, their safety in jeopardy? After all, they're not, traffic enforcement officers. And how comfortable would they feel, doing that type of job? And are you reserving the no standing for only vehicles to do with the employees of that location? Or, are you saying basically, as long as no one, anyone can stop there, but as long as they don't go over that 10-minute period? And my last question is, I thought no standing is, it's very vague. I thought it's to do with unloading and picking up passengers only, but you're not meant to, I don't believe there's any particular set time of, how long they can sit there. It's meant to be a short time, but I'm wondering where you get this 10-minute from.
It was a suggestion, and we witnessed the behavior of cars pulling up on a few different times, locations, when they did pull up and they had the opportunity to drop off the folks that actually are the tenants in the building and then leave. We just gave an arbitrary time. It's really meant to say that no one's going to actually be sitting there and then standing outside if they have the private drivers or an Uber driver and waiting for their folks. We're actually looking, and the intent of this is that not only the folks in the building, tenants in the building that would be using that area, but if there are someone across the street at 399 Park Avenue, or on the opposite side, I forget the address, forgive me, but 345, you know, they have the ability to use that side. And we really are thinking of this as more of a security measure. And, you know, the security guards in the building itself, they are hired by the owners of the building. I wish I could tell you if they're union or not union, and certainly, you know, security guards are there to you know, make sure that no one really gets hurt or that anything happens to the 375 building itself. I can't, you know, testify right now that, you know, they're going to go out there and, you know, push away anyone, but I would say that, you know, it does make sense that if you're asking for control, I'm sure that we can work something with, you know, with the signage or even we can put additional signage that, you know, cars aren't permitted here to stand as long as, you know, just picking up or dropping off.
Yeah, I'm just concerned because sorry to jump in just very quickly. You know,
Carlos, make sure
we
it's a question. Make sure it's a question, not a
yeah,
statement.
sorry. I apologize, of course. How confident are you that the security staff will be able to enforce this when security guards in our stores like Target or wherever can't even control shoplifting?
That's an excellent question. If I would tell you that I'm very comfortable, I wouldn't be giving you the facts, right? I don't think anybody could really answer that question, sir. I think that at the end of the day, we're going to do the best that we can. And again, given the fact of the environment and everything else that's going around in the world, the purpose of this is because of the fact that traffic is increasing. There is an opportunity for the area to have this, so therefore it makes an ease for people to be dropped off and picked up, as opposed to wandering around and potentially, you know, get hurt in any which way if they're double parked to get out on a certain side. So it's a matter of, you know, both convenience, but more importantly, safety.
Joel,
Just a clarification question. The area you're talking about is on Park Avenue in front of the stairs?
No, it's on, there is a drawing, and forgive me, I don't have the ability
Oh.
to bring up the drawing, but the drawing shows clearly it's approximately 100 feet. There are two entrances,
On
one
what street?
52nd.
52nd, 53rd.
Oh, so that's not what it says on our agenda. It says on a 375 Park Avenue zone between 52nd and 53rd Streets.
Yeah.
So you're talking about on the side streets?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's what's in the letter from the commission.
Yeah, and there's a plan too.
Yeah.
Mohit?
Yeah, so Frank, thanks again for taking the time. I think from the letter, the main consideration of the DOTs was any quality of life issues that may be a result of introducing a new no standing zone. Would love to understand how many approximate parking spots we'd be releasing if we were to put in this no standing zone. And I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but a no standing zone already exists on the northeast side of the building next to the Lobster Club.
Yes, they do. Yeah. What I'm doing is I'm actually taking additional feet in that area and requesting additional area for it. If I had to, you know, it's an excellent question, and I apologize for not knowing that answer. I think it's 3 spots, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
Well,
Sure.
you can, I mean, you can add, it's 100 feet, right? And
Yeah.
the car is about 12 feet long. So you're at 8 spots per section.
Yeah, but I don't think it's the whole lane because we do already have a no standing, and that's incorporated in that.
Yeah, because I think there's already an existing no standing.
500 on one side.
All right, let's keep it to question. Okay, let's keep it to questions. Mohit, do you have any other questions?
Yeah, so I just wanted to confirm it is on the side that already has the no standing zone, so it's an extension of that no standing zone. So there's a no standing zone, and then there's a fire hydrant after that no standing zone, correct? So the distance between the existing no standing zone and the fire hydrant
That's correct.
on the 53rd side street.
That's correct.
It's not indicated in the map that we have. That's been supplied here.
You
On the
can,
Google Drive.
I'm looking at Google, you can see it.
Oh, good. Thanks.
Any other questions from members of the committee or the community board? Joel.
Yeah, I'm sorry. So we're just talking about an area on 53rd Street from the Lobster Club going east?
Yes.
Nothing
Go
on
north.
52nd.
No, there is also on 52nd from the pool. It used to be on the opposite side on 52nd.
Yeah.
It used to be the Four Seasons entrance, and that's
Mhm.
going now. It's actually not east; it's west. It's going west.
Up to Park
Yeah.
Avenue.
That's correct.
No, it does not go to Park. Let me just share my
A
screen.
map would be helpful. Yeah.
Yeah, here,
Well, there was a map in the pack.
yeah,
Okay.
can everyone see this?
Yeah. So if you notice, yes. So it's going west. You see that Park Avenue? We're Lexington Avenue.
Mhm.
So on 52nd Street, you're going west for that 100 feet, and I'm leaving 97 feet in front of the existing pools of the plaza on both sides and being symmetrical. So that area we're requesting for the loading and loading and unloading area, and the opposite side of 53rd the same. No standing.
James.
Thank you.
I was just curious in exploring this, did you guys consider not making it 24/7 at all? Like, I understand the argument for loading and unloading for people for the building, because it looks like it's commercial parking now, so it could make it tough during business hours, but at other times of the night, weekends, etc., is this something that you had considered? And is there a reason why you would prefer it to be 24/7?
Well, honestly, we thought that they're mostly people that are in this building are all finance people, and there are a lot of times they do work long hours, late hours, weekends. We were just thinking again that it might be easier to ask for 24/7. And if we needed to dial it back, then we can dial it back to regular early hours, like let's say, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. If it had to be that. But we were just thinking while we were presenting and while we were asking if it's possible to have 24/7, that would be, something that we were thinking of having.
Thank you.
Any other questions from members of the community board? Charles?
Can you hear me? Sorry.
Yeah, yes.
Just a quick question to the applicant. Do you think congestion charging will solve the issue without the need of a new no standing zone?
It's a great question, but I yet got to see it happen, right? I'm seeing traffic more, and it might be a combination because of the fact that, you have two major construction sites a little south of us, and that, creates a bottlenecking and a lot of traffic on Park Avenue, and a lot that happens going east and west and west to east. But I don't know that answer. I really don't. You would think that people would stop coming into the city and vice versa, leaving the city, and cars stop roaming around the city would be less of it. But I don't know about anybody on this call, but I'm seeing, I'll be honest with you, I drive into the city. So I don't see it. As a matter of fact, it's increasing. So, and honestly, it's not stopping me.
Any other questions? Okay, we'll open it up to members of the public to ask any questions or make any comments. If you would like to do either, please raise your hand. Okay, seeing none, we will move to business session. And again, we lack an in-person quorum, so any action we want to take, we would have to draft it and bring it to exec to take the action on our behalf before bringing it to full board. And so if you'd like to speak, please raise your hand.
So I'm familiar with this area. I went there and I used to work around here. My sort of opinion on this is the 53rd Street one is not strictly necessary since it's already no standing or stopping or whatever it is from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday, which is, when the majority of drop off and traffic would be. The 52nd Street seems a little more important to me because there's now commercial parking allowed there during the day. And I'm sure we're all familiar with these midtown streets. They do get narrowed. People do double park to drop people off. Traffic does back up now into Park Avenue. So I would be supportive of both, but I suppose if there were objections to limiting it, that would be possible in 53rd Street in particular.
Okay. Charles?
Well, even though I'm not entitled to vote as, I'm a community board member, but not on this committee, I just want to say I'm in favor of the no standing zone. I just hope the best for the applicant, because just from my personal experience of having the no standing zone in front of my building, a lot of these vehicles, they don't care. They take the fine, they can afford to pay the tickets, but I hope it does work out for the applicant.
Joel?
Yeah, I'm concerned about the size of these zones. The number of cars that drop off at any one time is they're looking for 8 on each street is what I heard the measurement was. I think that's kind of out of line. And I actually feel slightly differently than I can't remember who spoke before about 53rd versus 52nd. I think 53rd already has a zone, which I think is fine. That's kind of a regular Midtown cross street, but 52nd is very narrow because of the bike lane. So the street's already too narrow. There's not room for parking on both sides, and to remove a lane and make it dedicated to drop-offs for this building would mean there's going to be more backup and more congestion. I'd have a problem with the 52nd, especially on both of them, especially 100 feet. I just don't see it. We generally give pickup and drop-off zones of 25 feet, which is for a building this size. Not 2 of them.
Okay. Mohit?
I guess more of a question for our committee and maybe Tristan, you. I would love to understand what our precedent looks like with approving no standing zones. I think this makes a ton of sense for the applicant. It's definitely congested street. I would again be in favor of supporting Bill's proposal of like approving the one on 52nd, but not extending the one on 53rd. But the only question I'd have is what implication this has for other buildings in the area. If I was another building in the area, I would also want a no standing zone for my building. And so the precedent that this sets is that every building in the area should have a no standing zone if requested. But there isn't a unique consideration that we're not approving this building for.
Yeah. James?
Yeah, I would tend to agree with Joel on this, that and actually part of what Mohit said as well about precedent for other buildings, 25 feet might make sense, but from just looking at the parking signs around there, this is where a lot of sort of the commercial vendors that operate in the buildings, such as like an HVAC repair, et cetera, not just that building, but other buildings in the neighborhood, park during the day. It's commercial parking. So it strikes me that there's getting rid of 10 commercial parking spots for vans or whatever things might be a bad idea. I can understand having a very limited drop-off zone for tenants, clients, people coming to work, people leaving work, but 100 feet sounds more than excessive and sounds kind of like a waiting area for black cars in the evening, picking up people leaving work. And I think that would create a dangerous precedent for the rest of the neighborhood as well. Like, where will commercial vehicles that are attending to these buildings park?
Thanks. And I'll note, I just pulled up our old resolutions and just searched no standing zone. It looks like in 2019, recommended denial of a no standing zone, but it doesn't look like we have a ton of actions on this. I don't know. Some folks I'm sorry.
I think we did the Amman Hotel.
Amman Hotel.
That
What
was
did we say?
25 feet or something.
Joel?
Side of the street is the bike lane now.
It's on the south side of the street.
Is that the same side that we're talking about that the applicant wants to
No.
extend the? No?
No, it's the opposite side.
So it's really not interfering with the bike lane?
So Joel's concern was the combination of the no standing zone and the bike lane, make it too narrow, I think, Joel, right? That's kind of.
Yeah,
the bike lane.
correct. That's correct.
No bike
lane, right? And see these plastic things, right? People, you know.
The bike lane is no bike lane. Yeah.
Oh. So he was showing us a picture of Google Maps, FedEx parked in the bike lanes. Any other comment? So, it seems, Joel, you interview and Bill, you kind of have the opposite view on 52nd versus 53rd.
Yeah, actually, can I
Yeah,
make a comment? So, Joel, I think maybe we just disagree on this, or maybe we don't understand each other, but I can't see how freeing up area next to a curb is gonna cause more traffic to back up. I can understand the point about there's nowhere for commercial vehicles to park. I get that. Reasonable. But it just feels like if cars dropping off and picking up can pull over to the curb, it's actually gonna make traffic, I can't see how it could make traffic worse myself. But I'm happy to be educated on traffic dynamics if somebody has.
So giving a small, if that was directed at me, giving a small area like a 25-foot area, which we do pretty routinely for hotels, where they have a lot of drop-offs and pickups, I agree, does allow for that. And, a hotel doorman could be out there monitoring the space and making sure it really is freed up for the pickups and drop-offs. I think particularly in a building like this, if you look where the building employees are, they're way inside in the lobby. They're not out there monitoring the space. I think then it just becomes, if they put out bollards or, those plastic cones, then they just create a space that can't be used along the curb. And what somebody said is, this is a slippery slope that if we entitle this building to have, 200 feet they're asking for of space, then everybody else wants 200 feet, building of similar size. There's no space left for delivery guys. And delivery guys are all over the place now. It's not just the HVAC repairman and the plumber. It's, the Amazon truck that comes every 20 minutes. And commercial vehicles need place. That's my concern. They got to get off the driving lane and have a place to stay in the middle of the day.
So just asking any of you to help me wrap my head around this, what's going to move the traffic better? Is it going to be better to maintain these parking spaces for commercial use, or is it going to be better to have the no standing zone? What's going to increase the traffic flow and rather than decrease the traffic?
Well, James, do you have an answer to Joel's question or any comments in general?
No, mine's not exactly an answer to his, so if someone wants to chime in on that. I had a different comment that was separate from the traffic flow issue.
Well, Joel seems very familiar. Maybe Joel has a thought.
Well, I'm not a traffic engineer, but I think that the more space you have for the people who are out there all day in the middle of the day, every day, using the curb, and if you walk around that neighborhood in the middle of the day, it's all delivery trucks and service vehicle trucks. If you get them off the traffic lanes, then you have more ability for traffic to flow. That's just my feeling. There is no standing already here in both rush hours, in the 2 morning and evening rush hours. And that's when a lot of the drop-offs are happening. So I think they're covered for that. What they need is, a small drop-off area in the middle of the day. I don't see why they need it late at night. This is not, there's these 2 restaurants, but this is not a big restaurant or club area. There's not going to be that much traffic late at night when the work vehicles are gone. So I think, a small area would be useful. I don't think they need 200 feet.
James?
While Joel was speaking, it came to me that one issue might be that commercial vehicles might choose to double park instead of being in that no standing zone, and that could be something that happens, but that's more speculative. What I was just looking at in the application materials was the letter from the Manhattan Commissioner of the DOT, which had brought our attention to this being a quality of life issue. And I just thought that it was relevant that was brought to our attention, that there could be these sort of knock-on effects of where do these other vehicles go. So I just wanted to bring the committee's attention to that as well.
Okay, so to kind of distill everything that we're hearing, it sounds like there's not a resounding yes to support the application as it is currently written. There could be a path to supporting a small segment of it 24/7, or a path to oppose it altogether. Is that kind of how people are feeling?
I think I heard some people say one that wasn't 24/7 also, it wasn't my thing, but I did hear
Yeah.
somebody say that.
Even what the applicant said, 8 to 6, so.
Yeah.
I'm feeling, is this discussion now?
Yeah, discussion, this is open.
Yeah, I'm feeling persuaded by what Joel is pointing out. If we are not providing space for repairmen, other services, at the curb, possibility of blocking traffic even more. So, and it's just a few spots. Let's keep those spots and give them the no standing during the rush hours, when it's most likely that's when the drop-offs and pickups are gonna.
Mohit?
Yeah, I have to agree with Zool a bit. So I would, if I was to make a recommendation, I would do it on 3 criteria. One is the size of the zone. I think we could likely compromise and have a recommendation for the size of the zone to be a smaller one. So maybe 25 feet or 30 feet, whatever it might be, to accommodate commercial vehicles while also not taking up the full 100 feet plus the additional no standing zone on 53rd. The second criteria would be around the time of the no standing zone. So 24/7 versus during rush hour. I think I'd lean more towards having a rush hour based no standing zone, so maybe from 8 to 6. And third, I would make it very clear in the recommendation that we put forth that this doesn't necessarily set some sort of precedent for looking at no standing zones in the future. I think that's likely the largest implication of this single standing zone on future applications.
James, I saw your hand was up. Cool.
I took it down because I think Mohit covered it pretty well. Other just thought I had was that there, I hadn't realized exactly what these restaurants are, and at least one of them is a sort of very high-end major food groups type restaurant, and that might have been part of the inspiration for later hours. And that makes sense to me, but I generally would go along with what Mohit says. I think the main thing is to just not want to start getting rid of all commercial parking in the neighborhood and having buildings ask us. So that's it.
Okay, so smaller zone, 25 to 30 feet, time 8 to 6, not a precedent. Do people kind of feel comfortable with that type of resolution?
The only, the only other thing that came up on the Amman was the kind of no traffic cones thing. This is not exclusive, you can't mark it out.
No.
Sorry, can you repeat the point that you made about the traffic cones?
Well, we did one on 57th Street, 57th, yeah. And the concern there was that, the applicant tries to kind of reserve it exclusively by putting traffic cones out into the area so that they control who can come to the curb. And, this may be slightly different because they don't have the staff necessarily to do that, but we still are not creating exclusive space for them.
No free private parking.
Tristan?
Yes.
I just had kind of the times. I'm guessing there's 2 times per day when there would be a lot of
The
traffic, right? Maybe the
Yeah.
morning and the afternoon, maybe we should have 2 2-hour windows,
Yeah.
but maybe the
Rather
applicant
than the 8 to 6.
could opine on that or something. But yeah, because I think that just observationally, right, the commercial vehicles seem to be gone by like 5 p.m. generally, right? Like, seems to me these are mostly delivery trucks in the morning.
Yeah, so maybe Frank, give you an opportunity to kind of voice a little bit in response to what we're saying. If we were to break it just like specific times rather than the 24/7, are there peak times that you think this is more necessary than others?
Uh, uh, I'm not so sure if I'm comfortable, in responding to that because then I know, I'm sort of committing to something that I am not,
That's fair.
I have not thought about, to be very honest with you, Um, if I may, put in a
Sure, go ahead.
request. No, and I've been hearing, the deliberation and quite frankly, um, at this moment, I think that I could certainly could tell you that there aren't going to be any cones that are going to be put out there. That's for sure. That I know I could say. We're truly trying to establish an area on a safety zone, like I said earlier, but more importantly, make it where we're not impeding in traffic. Having said that, I'm listening to everyone and forgive me, I think it was James that said that these are the food group folks that have high-end, level of and late night dinners and stuff like that. And this building is a late night kind of active building, well into 7 or 8 o'clock, and then they go downstairs to have dinner and meet their friends or family members or whatnot. So if it really means that we cut it down to 25 or 30 feet, I'll be honest with you, I'm inclined to take that. And if it means that we limit it from 8 to 6, I would do the same, even though folks are there late at night, but got to give a little, right? To get a little.
Thank you, Frank. So back to the business session.
Yeah.
Joel?
So, and it's really a question for Frank. Is the restaurant less, early breakfast, lunch, and more dinner late night?
Go ahead, Frank.
Yeah, and it's an excellent question, to be very honest with you. I should be prepared to answer that. But I'm gonna guess here. All right. I think that the heavy time is going to be 8:30, to be very honest with you, to around 10. And then
At night?
no, in the morning. In the morning.
Oh, okay.
And then I would say there is
Yeah.
going to be a lunch between 12:30 to 2. And then the pickup would be, I would say, anytime between 3 and 8. And the reason why I'm mentioning 3, because sometimes we have a lot of people that come from out of town. They're conducting business within a financial group of folks, and then they're leaving town. So they pick up their cars, they get picked up and they go to the airport. So, and that's the kind of stuff that really happens in this building. So.
Thank you, Frank.
We
Okay,
back to business.
Back to business
Just-
session.
I think a little bit we're conflating the two uses of the zones, right? The restaurants, I was just looking up, at least on their websites, are open either for dinner only or lunch and dinner. So there should be no restaurant traffic in the morning. But I think there would be business drop off and pickup traffic, right? So I think maybe don't confuse the two issues, but
But as far as the commercial parking, we're more likely to have their early morning. They're coming in, whether they're doing HVAC or whatever it is, and they're leaving by 4 or 5 at the latest, right? So I think more inclined to give them towards the evening and, keep the morning for this commercial parking.
I mean, if I had to guess, it would be purely a guess, right? But because both restaurants serve dinner and people leave their offices, call it somewhere between 6 and 8, probably in that building, right? I'm imagining 6 to 8 in the evening is. Somebody should do a traffic study, but that's got to be the busiest time for this. I'm almost certain there. So yeah.
There's not a lot of competing traffic then, so.
Yeah. Right. The plumbers are gone or whatever. Right?
So in terms of what we would want to move forward on, smaller zone, sounded like Frank was generally receptive to. If he had to, obviously a bigger would be preferable, but we make it smaller. Timing 8 to 6.
I would make a proposal. Small zone.
Smaller zone.
I would say most importantly, 6 to 8 in the evening, but possibly 8 to 10 in the morning. And I would think you would only need it Monday through Friday. There's no office work. So we do.
Okay, what do people think about that?
Less is more.
Lots of more. I'm seeing nods from Joel, James. Good. Mohit, I see nothing. I'll assume that's a yes. Yes, James?
I would just say that the size thing I think is the most important. I'm thinking about these restaurants. I'm understanding the request for longer hours more because of the evening to at least have something. And you don't want to have cars blocking the street double parked. So I understand that a little bit, but what's being said makes sense that, so we might want to go a little later than 6 PM in the evening, especially if commercial vehicles aren't going to be there anymore. It shouldn't really be an issue, but.
I think we're saying start at 6 to 8 would be the evening, but we could go longer.
And it's only commercial parking.
That we're giving up, you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, what's there now is only commercial parking.
Either no
standing.
parking on 53rd
Right.
or commercial on 52nd.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. What I was saying is I'm less worried about the evening than I was when I spoke originally.
Gotcha. Thank you for the clarification. All right, so again, we're not taking a vote. So if anyone has any objections to a resolution like that being written by Bill and Mohit and taken to exec, speak now or forever hold your peace. Otherwise, anything? Frank, thank you so much for attending, presenting and speaking and responding to our feedback. I appreciate you coming in.
Thank you very much. Thank you to board. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay, and now that completes our formal agenda. So we'll open it up for any new business that anyone might want to raise. Yes, well.
Yeah, this is a little advanced. We're gonna have a social gathering once the new board is seated sometime this summer. But then beyond that, we are gonna start committee by committee organizing our also social events with the visioning part. So just want to put that in your head.
Love it.
Okay, so that's it.
Something to look forward to. Yeah, David?
Going back to the daylighting discussion, part of how this got started was that Carla Rivera's office had asked us to make a recommendation. And I don't know what kind of time urgency that had.
Yeah.
But it was less about studying the whole issue than it was about tell me the 5 intersections that you're most concerned about. And I didn't know where we had.
Yeah, so there is actually going to be a meeting of the Daylighting Task Force. I don't know if Ankur, if you want to speak to it, Bill. Yeah, it's on the calendar. It's getting put on for I think next week, and then it'll be brought to T&E next month. But Ankur, are you still on? I think he might have done it.
Yeah, there's a meeting being scheduled for May 6th.
Right?
And Ankur has found a consultant that can speak to daylighting. It's a task force.
Yeah, so everyone is able to attend. It's going to be noticed. It'll be on Zoom because we don't take any formal action, so like you don't need to be here. But otherwise, they'll come to the
May
next
6th, 5 PM.
5 PM. Yeah,
5 to 6.
and you're like there's an expert coming in to
There's
speak.
an expert coming in. I don't know much about the expert. Ankur knows the.
There will be an expert.
Ankur's the expert on the expert, but there is an expert.
And one of the outputs is to be able to answer her question.
I
And
think that's-
to the extent it's a larger issue, which it is, then we'll carry it forward.
Exactly, yeah, and so we'll send out an email to everyone just for awareness, because I think it's just you two on the task force as of right now, so
That's it.
I think more engagement would be better if the folks are interested in learning more. Anything else from?
As well.
Anything else from the broader group? Okay, seeing none, we'll close the meeting. Thanks all for joining, and we'll see you at the full board.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Very efficient meeting.
Yeah. When you don't take votes.